Afternoon Racer Cafe. Today we're going to add on a rear luggage rack to a Triumph Bonneville T120 Black Edition. It's a 2024. We're going to add on a Givi SR6410 luggage rack. It's small, just enough to put a tail bag on the back, but there is optional a plate to put on it, and you can actually put a Givi top case on it if you want. I'm not going that route. I don't need anything of that design. So we're going to get started and I'll walk through the process. All right, so here we have our Givi 6410, actually a SR6410 by the packaging. This is for a Triumph Bonneville T120. Here's everything that comes in the package with the rack. You got some bolts in there with some flat washers and some basic instructions. I wrote on here, so we're going to use a 12mm wrench for the bolts that come with it. And then we're also going to need a T130 star bit, which will drop the fender down so that we can actually get to it. So here's the bike we're working on, 2024. I have it on a center stand. Little tip, if you're trying to put your bike up on a center stand, sometimes it helps just to put a small piece of wood under the front tire and then lift it up if you can. So I've had problems actually lifting this up because there was nothing to grab a hold of when trying to use the center stand, and it's a pretty heavy bike. This Givi rack, and additionally some of the other rack designs, the bar will attach right here and comes to the back, which will actually give you something to grab a hold of rather than trying to grab a hold of this fender, which is a pretty sharp, almost a knife edge right here, and trying to pick the bike up while you use the center stand, trying to activate that, doesn't work very well. It's pretty hard in the hands. So this is where we are right now. Already took off the seat. We're going to be removing these 4 bolts right here. So you've got a star bit there. So you got 1, 2, 3, and 4. So those 4 bolts will come out and we'll drop this entire rear fender down, and we're gonna just rest it on the tire. Now there's some other videos on Facebook of people who I guess didn't realize that you had to take the fender off or weren't quite sure how to attach the Givi rack, and did some custom manufacturing, which if you got the tools to do that and you want to do that, that's great. However, I'm just going to go with the route of adding this rack and following the instructions as it came with it. So should be pretty simple. Again, it's a T30 star bit that'll take those 4 off. And then the bolts that come with it, they're going to come in here, 2 on that side. And then the front bolts are going to come in behind the shock here and mount into the back of the bolt, into the back of the hole there where the shock absorber is, and it's threaded and it feeds right in there. We'll throw on a little blue Loctite just to make sure everything stays where it's supposed to, and go from there. Okay, so now we have the fender disconnected. Got a little magnetic dish here, but you have miscellaneous bolts in it because we're going to need those later. Don't want to lose those. So was able to just simply take those 4 bolts out, and this wire harness right here, there's some clips in the fender. You just remove those from the clips. This is your seat lock cable here. There was some clips on the side of the fender as well. You just have to loosen that up. So again, on this Givi rack, the inside the shock bolt right here is where the new bolts are going to go. So we'll thread those in. And then on this side, it might be a little tricky getting into this bolt right here. This cable, other sources online talk about this cable kind of getting in the way. So we'll see how that works out, see if we have the same issue on this model. That's what we have so far. But while I have this down, I'm actually just going to wipe down the fender, probably put some wax or some coating on that as well. It gets pretty grungy and dusty from being under the seat. But we'll get this put back together and then go on to the next step. So here we have the rack on, doing a test fit. Just have the rear 4 bolts, and then again underneath there where the shock mount is, Let's see if you can see one of the, see the bolt underneath there. Right at the shock mount, and there's one on this side. So it just goes right in. So wanted to make sure everything fit fine and lines up before we break out the blue Loctite and tighten everything up. And I'll just do one bolt at a time. I'll start with the 2 bolts that are on the shock mount so I can get those torqued in nice and tight, and then that gives me room. I'll leave these 4 in the back, some wiggle room, so then that way I can tighten those down. So went with the Givi rack, just kind of as a side note. Looked at a couple different options. Ended up going with this one based on a little bit of price and availability. I really liked the look of the stock handrail, grab rail, and luggage rack from Triumph, but it was a 2-piece design, and I think they were like $150 US dollars each one. So you're looking at like roughly around $300 for the 2, for the pair combined. And the luggage rack itself is about the same size as this Givi rack. This Givi rack I got from Twisted Throttle via Amazon, and it was around 150 bucks, and it arrived here in just a couple days, so I'm happy with it so far. I looked at the Hepco and Becker. They were back ordered for several months for here in the United States, so I didn't go with that. The Motone version, really nice, really like that one, but if anybody looks at the instructions, the ordering instructions for the Motone, whether you order it directly from them, or I like to use A&J Cycles out of New York, and they actually verified that the Motone rack does not fit properly with the newer T120 black with the OEM seat that comes with it. I've seen some video on YouTube of somebody who does fit one, and you can see that the seat is really tight squeeze, and it actually rubs up against the railing. So I didn't want that. As much as I love the Motone look, I was hoping that maybe they would come up with a new design, because I didn't want to have to order a new seat, because I actually like the seat that comes with the T120 black. So I ended up going with the Givi rack for price, for function, and availability. I don't need anything too large. On my scrambler back there, I have one of the OEM hard to find solo seats with a small rear rack on the back. Again, just a small tail bag goes on the back. I have a couple different bags that fit on that one, but I don't really haul a lot of luggage or anything, so don't need anything large. So same idea, same concept for this one. And also if I have a passenger, they actually, they can grab a hold of this bottom rail if they need to, or possibly here in the back. So the scrambler, I also have a Tech Bike Parts luggage rack for the back for whenever I put the bench seat on. But because of the tail tighty, that luggage rack sticks pretty far out. And I've noticed that it actually partially blocks my tail light and license plate from the rear. So for safety purposes, I haven't really used the Tech Bike Parts rack in a long time, even though I do like it and I like the way it looks. But with the tail tighty, it just, I don't like the idea of knowing that my tail light's partially blocked from the back. So it's just in storage for now. But let me know what you think of the Givi rack. We'll get everything tightened up here and we'll take some more pictures. All right, so we got the rack bolts all tightened down. One's under or behind each shock, and the 4 in the rear with some blue Loctite on there. There's no torque specs or anything that come with the instructions. So what I did was I made them what I call it German spec, Gudentite. So whether it's cross-threaded or 2-spec, tight is tight. So they shouldn't go anywhere. And now we'll put the fender back up. So I polished that fender up, cleaned it up on everything that was tucked up underneath on the inside, plus the rack area. So I use Meguiar's ceramic wax on most of my bike. and it seems to do a really good job of protecting it, so I'm very happy with that. So I did that cleanup. We'll get the fender attached and then get the seat on. All right, so we got the fender back on. It's all tucked up in there, nice and neat. Two things to note that I didn't take note of before, but notice when I put it back together that there are the two bolts in the front here and here are shorter. They're short bolts compared to the two back here, which are longer. So you have to make note of that whenever you do take them out to put them in the right spot. Otherwise, you won't be able to. If you try to put the short ones in the back, they're not long enough to reach the threads in the pre-threaded fender hole. So again, short ones to the front, longer ones to the rear. So I did notice also that from the factory, they look like they had a little bit of red Loctite on them. So that's probably why they were a little difficult to take off. But a big socket breaker was able to pop those off. So I put some blue Loctite on there and put them down good and tight. So we should be good there. So I ran the seat cable, or the cable lock here for the seat release, for the key release. So I made sure that all of that worked out well and that everything worked smoothly. And the wiring harness wire over there is also reconnected. So put it back to tribe spec and everything is okay. All right, so here's finished product with the seat on, everything lined up perfectly as it should. The key lock, the key to unlock and lock the seat works perfectly. So there is the rack. So the sticker on the side says it's rated for 13 pounds. You can see it in there. So what, 6 kilograms, I guess it is. So yeah. Again, I'm not planning on hauling too much with it, but I do like the way it looks. And also, one of the reasons I added it was so that we could grab a hold of the rail here and push down on the center stand rack. So it gives a nice firm place to grab a hold of it so that you have somewhere to actually help lift up the bike as you're activating that center stand. So sometimes it helps to push down a little bit, have the springs actually help you out a little bit, but this is so much better than trying to put your hand under here on that Fender knife edge. So again, very suitable for what I need. Looking forward to it. And then for size purposes, here's a small Camelback bag that I use. Just kind of put my travel to go coffee mug in there, some extra gloves, but it will, as of right now, that's the bag that I plan to attach to the back of that just to keep it simple. Might come up with another bag, something that's maybe more waterproof for the future, but for now, that's what I'm going to use. We'll see what the holidays bring as far as any type of bag. So if you like the channel, like and subscribe, and keep me updated on what you think of the project. Thanks for checking out the Racer Cafe.